Welcome to Richie's Roost in Shaco, Mississippi. It's a windy morning here, and so I've decided not to hold this outside in my usual outside studio because the wind is so brisk, it was affecting the sound, and so I'll just have to apologize and pass this morning on outdoors, which I love to. I just love to do them outdoors, but I couldn't do it this morning. So I have borrowed my bride's studio this morning, which she graciously allowed me to have. And we're going to talk about something that I hoped I'd never have to talk about, but let me start off by saying that there's no way to tell how many stories I've told about my Shaco neighbor, James Earl, and his wife, Sweet Hazel. And most of them are true, but I'll admit that at times I have taken license in those stories with the pristine truth. And he'd have to say the same thing about his stories he told concerning me. The only difference was that I wrote my stories down, and he didn't. And people often ask me if James Earl is or was a real person. And the answer is a resounding, emphatic, and truthful, yes, he was. He was also a good, honest, talented man and a valued friend of mine. And we lost him a few months ago. I can picture him now in heaven, sitting on a stump, holding forth to an audience stories that cause wonderment among the crowd as to how in the world he managed to get into here. And if asked that question, he'd probably come up with something like, well, I bought my way in, which would be classic James Earl. He had a way of winning an argument or presenting a viewpoint without having to resort to name calling or profanity or viciousness. An example of this was his request to the County Board of Supervisors about fixing potholes in the road in front of his house. Now, I think I told this story a long time ago in another video, but I'll tell it again just to illustrate the point. Now, he had written letters and attended board meetings to plead with the board to fix the awful pothole problem in his road. Many letters, many board meetings, no action. And finally, one day when he was sure that the local newspaper reporter was going to attend the board meeting, he attended the board meeting and asked the board to recognize him, knowing that the board would not be pleased with his usual request. There's a doggone fly in my wife's studio. Oh, get away. Another reason why I like to do it outside. Well, they were not pleased with his usual request, but they were surprised to hear James Earl say that he had fixed the pothole problem himself. And they asked him to explain. He said, well, I fenced that bad section of the road off with barbed wire, so you can't use it. And I put right in the midst of those potholes a sign that said, no fishing. He said, I also painted the bottom of the larger potholes white so that the missing drowned persons could be spotted easier. Well, you can imagine the reporter had a field day with that. And even the supervisors had to grin and decide that they'd had enough. The potholes got fixed with no hollering, no hurt feelings, and a positive outcome. And he'd also tell stories on me, and his main platform for that was the local barber shop. He always had a story about me when he went to get a haircut. Well, I walked in there one afternoon to get a haircut myself, and Danny Joe, barber, said, "Jim, how's your zebra doing?" I said, "What? How's your zebra?" I said, what are you talking about, Danny Joe? He said, "Well, James Earl was in here the day before yesterday. Said that you'd gone down to one of those wild Mustang auctions, and they had an old moth-eaten zebra in there, and you bought the zebra and carried him home. Said you've been feeding him for 6 weeks, got him all fattened up, slick. Now you're trying to..." Said then you start agonizing over a name for him because you thought you might keep him. Said you've been working on that name thing for days, but that you finally did come up with one that you thought fit just right. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What did he tell you I named him?" He said, "Well, he said you'd, after long sessions thinking about it, you finally decided to name that zebra Spot." So from then on, when I went in the barbershop for weeks, they were, "Here comes old Spot. How you doing, man?" Well, he also, a day or two after that, I guess, I happened to be by the barbershop, walked in, and they said, "Well, I can see you got out of the hospital." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, James Earl was in here telling me that you had gone down to the university hospital on an outpatient basis. Said they was going to do a brain swap on an outpatient basis." I said, "Really?" "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, but," he said, "they had it all set up. Everything was okay. Got ready to do the brain swap, but the monkey found out whose brain they were going to swap with and backed out of the deal. So he didn't do it. Just wanted to know if you were doing okay after that." I said, "Yeah, I'm doing okay." Well, I will continue to tell stories about him and his escapades. I will, and next week I plan to talk about his personal accomplishments, which were many and remarkable, and mostly unknown even to those who live here around Chaco. He was an amazing person. I miss him. And I was thinking there's no telling what he has planned when I join him up there, which I certainly hope to do. But if I were a betting man, which I am, I bet it'll be unusual. And in front of a bunch of heavenly people. I'm already getting a little antsy about it. James Earl, if you're listening to this, be kind. I'm Jim Ritchie. I'll see you again next time.